Keyonna, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I'm super excited just to learn a little bit more about you and all the different things that you're doing in the community.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm grateful. Yeah.
Yes, that is awesome. Okay, so let's hop right in it. So,
Okay.
you know the term a jack of many trades.
Yeah, I
I
do.
think, you wear a lot of hats. So, my first question is if you could kind of describe who you are and what your brand is, what would you say that is?
Uh, ta- um, I'm a powerhouse. And I'm an impatient powerhouse. So that's most of how everything that I've done and that I do now has come up because I've always wanted to do something and just didn't want to wait for somebody else. So I'm either trying to figure out how to do it or I'm seeing something and finding inspiration and thinking that I could do it better. So yeah, I'm just a powerhouse. I do what spirit leads me to do and whatever spirit inspires me to tinker at. Yeah.
I love that. Absolutely. Okay. So, where would you say, or how would you say you gained a passion for art?
I've always been a creative, like from as long as I can remember. I have kids now. My son is 5 and my daughter is 10. And especially now, my daughter, I see so much of myself in her. It's so freaky. But I remember being as young as her and just always being so creative. I went to Catholic schools and majority of my time in education, I wore uniforms. And so in uniform schools, you get time where like every other Friday you get a dress down day. And so those were the days that I would really like get to express myself. And I remember now like thinking about some of the outfits that I had that I just thought were so cute. And we're not going to talk about whether if they were really cute. But like, people always comment and just saying that I had just a different style about me. I remember when I wanted to get my first car, I designed my car like a Fast and Furious. So it's always been in me. But being in Southeast, you don't really, well, when I was in Southeast, now things are changing, especially because I'm here and we doing things. But before that, I always tell people I was growing up as a weirdo. There was never anything to nurture the spirit of a creative or being an artist, you know what I'm saying? And there's so many other things being in an impoverished neighborhood that you have to worry about, and you can't just really take pleasure in things like art. And so, yeah, I've always been this person. And I think now this is the time where I'm doing things because I'm creating spaces that I know that I needed when I was younger.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that. Instead of being a weirdo. You mentioned, kind of your dress down days, right, when you were in school, and that was your way of expressing yourself. And it sounds like you kind of ran with that. So what's your take on, or I would say, why is it important when you think about women having the ability to express themselves as it relates to art and other things in that realm?
Yeah, I think it's important for anybody, especially like so art is for me, I always say art saves lives and art is a serious healing tool. And so that's what I'm using it to do. It definitely saved my life, took me out of one of the darkest times that I've ever been in. And so now when I move and I facilitate, and what most of my art is about healing and mental health. But I think it's important for everyone to express, especially women and Black women and dark skinned women, because there's just so many different folds to it, right? And there are spaces, especially as women, we're just expected to handle things. We're expected to figure it out. I always talk about there's so many times that people question me about other people or other men specifically, but it's like how many times are people asking us, do we need help, or if there's anything that we need, because it already seems that we got it, right? But who is the person that hugs hugs the hugger, or what I'm saying, is strong for the strong person? So there's always a need for an outlet to be able to express, and I think art is really important. But beyond a space of being able to express, art is this universal language that creates a conversation for everybody to get into, right? And then creates this cycle of expression. And so that's what mainly all my art is about, is like this reflective look. And if you're taking the time for self and really looking at yourself and expressing and being transparent, because I'm highly transparent, because I realize it's really important. People feel more comfortable and it gives them hope and it gives them just a sense of like, yeah, somebody's with me, a sense of community. So yeah, art and expression, especially as a woman, is important.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so you mentioned Southeast a little bit, and you said, things are changing because I'm here. Talk about that. What things are changing? What have you done so far that you're proud of?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm born and raised in Southeast. And so yeah, period. And so I just remember growing up here, and then wherever I went to school, I left Southeast. My mother was, and both my parents were very adamant about me leaving Southeast because just flat out, and still now, we're always fighting for resources, respect, acknowledgement, the list goes on, right? And so my parents were very adamant to get me out of that environment, and literally just a few blocks, not blocks, but a few miles over across a bridge, which creates a whole different world. And so I always went to school uptown, but when I got older, I was taking this bus route across town. And being a kid, I'm literally able to see the differences within a bus ride, right? But then also having this space, and that's why I also talk about, just being a weirdo, because I just never could find my space, is that I'm coming from Southeast, going to all white Catholic school. And then I can't have sleepovers because my friends' parents are saying that they can't come over to Southeast because of whatever this viewpoint of Southeast is. And so now I think, and that's like a twofold conversation with gentrification, right? There's so many changes that gentrification brings, and a lot of it is very sad and very detrimental to just the way of life and culture. But there is this other side, and there's a silver lining to everything, right? There's a silver lining to gentrification, that it brings a lot of redevelopment. It brings a lot of new opportunities for businesses and organizations that are already in Southeast to thrive, right? So it's really important for us to be able to find that balance where we can stay and reap the benefits from the things that are happening around us. So that's like an intro little thing. But I have, in 2015, I opened, in all that conversation and seeing all that change and just understanding the stark difference of literally coming across the bridge, I opened up Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center in 2015. And it is another powerhouse. It's a beautiful venue. It's a house. So when you come in from the busy streets of MLK Avenue, it's very comfortable. It feels like home. I invite everybody to take their shoes off as soon as they come in if they want to. We do solo exhibitions for local artists and give them a complete first floor to hang as many pieces that they can fit in the space. We do programs and workshops. We curate our own, but it's really important for us to collaborate with other organizations that we know exist but don't have the space to operate. So we collaborate with them and just make a bigger picture. And then on top of that, we're rental space. So we have space for local artists and small businesses. And we have a beautiful rooftop. I think the only one in Congress Heights right now. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yes, I absolutely love that.
Thank you.
So when you think about all the amazing things that, the Arts and Culture Center kind of provides, what would you say your goal was, when this idea came about, and then you were like, okay, I got to do this? Like, what was your goal? What were you thinking?
Yeah, so when I first did it, like, it kind of all just fell in my lap. And I tell people all the time that the center self-manifested, like, and understanding just what the community needed and putting me there and understanding those different dynamics. My father, Mr. Finest Jones, he's an amazing developer and community activist and leader in Southeast. And he's not even from here. He's from Mississippi, which a lot of people don't know. But just how much energy he put into Ward 8 in Southeast, and being arm in arm with late Mayor for Life, Marion Barry. It just became. And so we first just started with one solo exhibition. I'm just like, wait, we can do a lot more. And my father, being the businessman that he is, he's like, girl, ain't nobody gonna buy art in the hood. Like, they worried about, putting food on their table, and it's just not gonna work. And I'm just like, well, we could do programming workshops and offer some other things. And he's like, okay, how's that gonna pay the bills? And I was like, okay, we can do your thing. We can put property in it, and it could be rental space, and people can come in and use the space. And he's like, okay, I think I like where you're going with that. So we opened in 2015. In 2016 and 17, he helped me do an incredible renovation that I think probably tripled the space that we originally had. And we've just been going ever since. The community comes in and they are very vocal, as South Side people are, about what they need, what they want. And we try to do our best to do that. We bring in resources. We have food markets, swapping clothes, sipping shops, karaoke, sipping paints, art therapy. We have chakra healing. We have yoga. We actually have a self-care retreat that's coming up soon, which is like a 4-day retreat of just all good stuff and Reiki sessions. So we really just, like I said, for me, art is a healing tool. And I don't think people realize how much art is embedded into almost every piece of our life. And so I think it's important for us to magnify that and help people not only heal and express, but understand that they can use it as an economic source, right? And so that they can use their passions for profits. And so that's the other part of it too.
I love that. Where do you see, I guess, 5-10 years, where do you see the Arts and Culture Center?
We are really doing some amazing things, and like it's really crazy that most of it has kicked off in the midst of a pandemic. I haven't like I really don't know, because at the beginning of the pandemic, it's so interesting. And I was like telling people very quietly, I was just in a very strange space, like, you know, where I was focusing on my personal stuff and my personal art and my healing. And I didn't really see at the time where the center fit in, right? Because as a one-woman band, working alone can be very abusive sometimes. And that abuse is unfortunately me putting it on myself, because I'm not delegating, or I'm not reaching out for hands, or I'm not looking or asking, right? And so I've done in the personal space that I've done for myself and healing and facing myself, I've recognized that that has to filter through everything, right? Including my organization. In order to be able to pour it into my community, I have to be full first, right? And so now I've done a great job of being able to leverage some of the partnerships that we've already had, but to make it make more sense for the organization and make it more sense for me as a leader, where I'm not burning myself out. So now there's so many different possibilities, because I don't feel so heavy and so like I'm the only person that's moving. So 5 to 10 years, I feel like we should have artist housing. We'll definitely have artist housing somewhere in the city. That's something that we're definitely looking at. We will definitely be doing international trips, taking students out of Southside and taking them international and taking them on art trips and really immersing them into cultural experiences. And who knows, maybe like multiple locations, who knows? I don't know.
Yes, that is so awesome. I absolutely love that. When you think of art, right, being an artist, being an activist, you know, and establishing the Arts and Culture Center, what would you say some of the biggest challenges were that you kind of faced along the way, and still now?
There are definitely a lot of loopholes in terms of funding, or being able to do public art, and working with, you know, we're a political place, being in DC. And so art sometimes, because of what it is, there's those lack of boundaries. It doesn't always sync up with politics. But I'm grateful for our city government, especially Arts and Humanities, and all these local governments that really believe in artists and creatives. We have amazing mural programs and all that type of all those type of things that can really enhance what we're trying to do. So those are some of the big things, just like the things when you just get to work and it's like, I don't, let's just, I know what I know the vision. And so that's also like the part of being an artist. And some of the things that we also teach in the at the center is just like translating that into professionalism, right? Knowing what paperworks and knowing what workshops and knowing points of contacts and just what all the whole scope looks like. And so that can be a little overwhelming. Like right now it's grant season, and before I was talking to you in a way at these on Friday before midnight, you know, so loopholes like that. And then I think Southeast will always, and I hope not always, but there's just a fight that we always have to naturally have, right? That I know and recognize that the rest of the city doesn't. So it's really important for me, not just as a art administrator through the center, but as an individual artist where I have a little bit more freedom to move, that I still represent Southeast and tell people about the center and tell people about how beautiful Southeast is. It's one of the reasons why I created the brand Southside Creative, because Southside is just different. And when you go anywhere in the city, I mean, anywhere in the States, like Chicago or Detroit, a Southside is very specific, right? We're a particular breed of people. So I think that is just always fighting against what people think or what they know in history, always fighting those things to get legitimacy about what we're doing and where we are.
Yeah, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, on the flip side of that, what would you say has been kind of your proudest moment thus far?
Definitely Black Lives Matter Plaza, being a part of that. I was the only public artist, but there were other 7 incredible artists that chose to be anonymous for various reasons. But that was a big thing for me because representation is important, right? And so for me to understand and see how it tripled, and I mean, see how it duplicated all over the world, I mean, globally, it really speaks and was like a serious confirmation and an affirmation to my personal brand about healing and art being that healing tool, and this reflective thought of like, when you start with yourself and you heal yourself, it literally is a cycle. You reflect on other people and it just grows and grows and grows. Like the Black Lives Matter Plaza, that showed that specifically. Like I came to paint on a very personal note, and then the next day people are coming in trying to help us paint, right? So we're jumping into the communal space, and then you see it replicated everywhere, and that's global. So it's just very clear, and it was very affirmative motive, and was clearly a big springboard for people to see and get a glance at what I'm doing. And I always tell people, once you see it, you're gonna like it. So I was grateful for, you know, to have that moment where people could see me. Outside of that, the center surviving the pandemic and literally coming out better than we went into the pandemic, which I think is incredible. We just opened at the beginning of June. And so being able to create that healing space for my community is really important and exciting for me. And we got to come back looking brand new. We got renovations done, we got new floors, we got new framing installation, a whole bunch of like art geeky stuff that I'm super excited about. But yeah, it's just big things are happening and I'm really grateful for it. But I know that it's really attributing to me being my authentic self, me trusting the process, me really facing myself and being okay with that. And yeah, and getting to work and being and through all of that, being able to find my true purpose, which is to help people heal through art. Very simple.
Yeah. You know, the Black Lives Matter mural was like amazing. Indescribable, I think. And it's so nostalgic, right? Like that's one of those things where you can smell something or you can hear a song or you can see something and then you associate that with that time. So that's already amazing and huge that you were able to kind of be a part of that. So I would love to hear like how that opportunity came about.
So I got a call from another who is always thinking about me and keeping me connected. She reached out and basically said that there was an opportunity that she thought would be perfect for me. And she didn't have a lot of details, but she did know that it had to do with the mayor. And as you know, like this is in the smack of the pandemic, like right behind the protests. And so I'm thinking, okay, the mayor, she has a budget. I already know that. And it's giving artists time, like, okay, whatever. And I trust, you know, the artist that brought me in. So she's like, I don't have any details, but we're gonna get on a call later on. And I'm like, okay. So we get on a call probably like 3 hours later, around 8 o'clock. And that's when they revealed the project that we're going to be painting Black Lives Matter on 16th and K leading up to the White House. So I'm just like, okay. and they're talking dimensions and stuff, but I'm an artist. I don't know numbers. Like, you know, like I know how big I am, but I don't even think I thought about it that much. And I was just like, okay. And I was like, this is going to be kind of big. And they're like, we need you there at 3:00 in the morning. I'm like, 3:00 in the morning? Like, this is like some real ninja stuff. We in the middle of the night. At that point, when we were talking about it, it was pouring down raining. So I'm like, this is possible. Like, you can't paint in the middle of a rainstorm. So we're sitting there waiting for the rain to stop. Magically, the rain stops at like 1:00 in the morning. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's on. I'm not hearing from any other artists. And I'm like, am I crazy to be going out here? Like, is this a real thing? Is the mayor really behind this? Like, what if something happens? Because it was right when, you know, Mayor Bowser and Trump were like just knocking heads. And I just, you know, a lot of thoughts were just happening. So we go out there and sure enough, DPW trucks are down there and they're ready to clean the streets out. And we get down there and all, like most of the artists that and they starting about like the dimensions again, and they start walking it. And I'm like, oh, like we have to cover all of this. Like you want all of this covered. And they're like, yeah, by 11 in the morning. I'm like, there's no way we're going to do this. Like, it takes us 3 hours just to sketch out the letter B in Black Lives Matter. It took us 3 hours just to get that sketch out. And then you think, when you look at it, the artists are measuring in between and the width of each letter to make sure that it's all uniform. And of course, I was not on this part. Like I said, I'm not good with numbers and I'm a renegade ruler user. That's just not me. And so there was a team of artists that did the measuring and the tracing. And then there was another team that started with the buckets and the paints. And I got the buckets and the paint. That was my thing. And so we started the B. And then right before we got the B, we realized there is nowhere enough paint. Like, we're running out of paint doing the letter B. Then they're like, okay, more paint is coming by morning. So we're still sketching out. And the more paint comes, and it's a whole different color yellow. So we have to go back over the B with that. But luckily, like I said, as the day breaks, there's more people coming out, helping us paint, and asking us what we're doing and can they help. And at that point, we're like, yeah, because we've been out here since 3 in the morning. Like, yeah, anybody can help at this point. So we did finish at 11, and that's at that point, that's when we realized, none of us knew at that point that it was going to be renamed, that the mayor was going to have a press conference. So it was an incredible shock. And then at that point, you know, while we're painting and the day's breaking, there's news outlets out there. People are texting me and telling me that they can see my brand and my jumper, because this is the jumper that I wore right there. And these are the shoes that I painted in. So those are like the actual shoes. So yeah, it was an experience that I think I'm still processing a year later. It's been a year.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, yes.
It's crazy.
So when you're not being a creative, what do you do? What do you do in your free time? What do you like to do for fun?
When am I not being a creative? That's really hard. If anything, I know I like to catch a really good happy hour. I like a good brunch. I love a good brunch with a bottomless mimosa. I love those. And then if I do get to take a break, I'm normally, people will tell you I'm out. Like, I'll take a trip in a heartbeat. So if I get a break here, then most times I'm out. But then, like, you know, I got kids too. So my kids keep me busy in between that. I'll do stuff with them, fun things with them. But most of the time that always includes art too. So yeah, we just are art house, art family. So
art is life, okay?
Period.
What advice would you have for other women who kind of are in that same space that you were in Catholic school, right? Like feeling like a weirdo, wanting to express themselves, but also knowing that like I'm different.
Right. I have only one, and people know this. If you know me and you know my brand, you know me. I have one thing to tell you, and you have to face yourself. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept, but it is one of the hardest things to do, because when you are facing yourself, you are literally accepting all things, right? And you are being accountable for yourself, and you're being accountable for what you're allowing or not allowing to come to you, right? And so that's hard sometimes, like to know that you, like one of the things that I would do And I'm so glad, like, I'm really just getting better at this. Like, I'm only doing therapy one time a month now. Like, it's getting real out here. People are healing, but one thing I used to be so heavy on was just holding so much guilt, right? And shame, and just thinking that when we were talking earlier about women and just trying to be this strong person, thinking that my strength was the thing that was going to hold everybody over, right? I wanted to make everybody comfortable because I felt that I was strong enough to hold the uncomfortability. Because I'm also an empath, I'm very sensitive, as most women are, and we just feel vibes and even we're emotional, you know what I'm saying? And so I didn't even want to make people uncomfortable because I didn't want to have all that feel bad on me. Like, even if I was doing what I wanted to do, if that made you uncomfortable and made you feel some type of way, then I would probably retract from it because I didn't want you to feel bad. But at the end of the day, you have to just be your authentic self. And I tell people all the time, how can you get what is for you if you're not being you? Like, how does it work? Like, your blessing can't find you because where are you? Because you too busy being somebody else or trying to make other people comfortable and not being your authentic self. So that's my biggest thing. And also, that's, like I said, it's a big thing about accountability. If you're toxic and you need to fix it, right? And sometimes we really get on ourselves and are beating ourselves up because of things that we've done or things that we've said. It's okay. You apologize, you find yourself accountable, and you do better next time, right? So the biggest thing also is give yourself grace. Like, we are human. Everybody is just trying to get to peace and happiness, regardless of what they say, whatever it looks like, right? And there are only two emotions in this world, and people get it really, like, they get caught up in like anger, and it's literally love and fear. If it is not of love, then it is fear, right? And it's fear of the unknown. This is where hate comes from. Normally we're angry because there's a lack of understanding, right? And there's a lack of love there. So there's only, just always choose love. Always choose to love yourself, face yourself, and give yourself moments. Relax, breathe, and have grace for yourself. That's my advice. Relax, child. Okay.
Love that. Fear and love. Fear and love. I'm gonna think about that the next time I'm pissed, pissed at somebody.
Yeah.
Keyonna, what's next for you?
I got a lot of stuff coming. Some things I can't talk about right now because they're embargoed, just in collaboration with other things. I have a dope partnership that I'm doing with the creative school that I'm the vice president of. It's an amazing youth-led organization. We're taking the youth out to Birmingham for Juneteenth, and we have a whole partnership with Ed Farm and Apple. I think is going to be there. So that's the next, like, the immediate thing. I'm leaving tomorrow. Of course, growing the center. I have some things coming out with the Mystics. That's gonna be lit though. But that should be close. Something with the local radio station is coming soon. I have murals popping up in the city soon. So a few things. Like I said, some of them I can't really talk about, but if you stay tuned, you will see them, and very soon.
Oh, I'm staying tuned. And speaking of staying tuned, how can people keep up with you? How can we learn more?
My name and my artist name is KayemJ6. I spell it out, KayemJay, the number 6. And that's me literally everywhere. KayemJ6.com, KayemJ6 on Instagram, KayemJ6 on Twitter, on Facebook. The center is Congress Heights Arts and Culture Center. So our acronym is who we are, CHACC. Some people have made it up to call us CHALK. If that makes you feel better, that works. So we are chalk.org. I don't like chalk, so I can't do that. CHACC_DC. But yeah, that little situation everywhere. So yeah.
Awesome. Keyonna, thank you so much, honey. This thing is going to kick us off, but thank you so much for chatting with me. I'm so excited for people to see this interview. And hopefully you get some more exposure from this too, because I think, these are so many movements that people need to know about, right? Like, you are somebody that people need to know about. So thank you.
I appreciate that. This was, of course, great questions and great energy. Thank
you. Okay. That's what I need to hear. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. I pray that you